Truaillidh! Can you believe it? We are in the final week of the first half of the regular season already. Just 2 months remain, with results becoming even more scrutinized as the weeks go on. No one's on anything yet. What better way to throw another wrench into the standings than to have multiple 2 and 4 squads taking on each other, a team with 3-game separation over their next opponent, and 3 games with both teams separated by just 1 game. For the games with 2 and 4 teams, it could feel like an elimination game despite there being a lot of time left. No one wants to lose tiebreakers with similar teams, as 1 loss could feel like losing twice in the same week. And 2 of those teams are going to face off in the next game of the week! As Air Jordan travels to take on low-key Lebowski Thor at the Pastures of Òrdugh.
In the pastures of Òrdugh, grasslands cover a wide area of holes in the ground. These holes lead to several underground tunnels that stretch throughout the flatlands of Scale region. Scale, of course, refers to the strange shadows that seem to cover stretches of this area. The shadows are actually just the change in colors around these openings to those tunnels. The Aishi bunkered here during the Great Collapse, and this is also where our place in the Order of Light was born, when our queen first gathered us to protect the gates and explain the Elder's plan. The tunnels were a means to transport ourselves outside of the watchful eye of Pastures. It allowed us to stay away from the horrors of the portals and try to control them in secret. While more gate activity is in the wetlands of Arone or peaks of Òrdugh regions, the flatlands contained a mega-portal, one that nearly ripped a hole through the universe. Ellen Traken first appeared here before being cast back into the void. The shadows laid claim to it in order to cut us off. Mini-gates popped up around the mega-gate, and the area has since been continually unstable, even when Pastures was trapped by the Elders for a short time. The area used to have our wonderful strange beasts that roam these lands, but the portals brought with them nightmares, abominations that use the grasslands like an ocean, hunting from the tunnel openings. The Aishi abandoned these pastures and sealed off the tunnel access, but through a portal one day popped an ancient being who decided the land was too beautiful to let evil take hold. Truaillidh was a king in another world, but here all titles were useless in the face of death. As the shadowy abominations roamed and hunted, Truaillidh discovered the Aishi and spoke of a shield that could moan a warning and allow an ambush on these creatures. Unfortunately, this shield of Aeson was left behind before coming through the portal. Pastures listens. Finding the shield and corrupting it into a new artifact was the plan. Truaillidh discovered the shield and believed it was destiny to help our world, using the shield to defend and call to us the warning. Allowed the Aishi to rid the world of most of these abominations. Little did we know that by doing so, many gates were being formed around the corpses of the fallen. Truaillidh left us with the shield when the deed was complete and returned through the portal in hopes of bringing others. But the king never returned. The shield did help us a little bit longer until the queen discovered the dark secret. The unstable pastures were too dangerous again. Abominations tripled as they came through the newly formed mini-gates. The queen had no choice but to seal this shield away and quarantine the area. As the shield's energy stirs again, 2 teams in dire straits, looking for a way back, face off as Air Jordan travels to take on low-key Lebowski Thor. The question is, will it be too late to protect the shield when the dust settles on this matchup? If the shield of Aeson is lost, there would be no way to hold back the abominations from roaming the rest of the world.
Both teams most likely need to go 5-3 or even 6-2 to have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs, and the projections are calling for a low-scoring game as injuries have decimated Loki Lebowski Thor's lineup. Air Jordan has a 65.6% chance to win, but that depends on Lebowski Thor getting a new flex player in the lineup, so Air Jordan's chances are actually kind of higher than that at this point. The battle at quarterback is key if Lebowski Thor can have a chance in this one, as Justin Jefferson, Mike Williams, and J.K. Dobbins all being on IR has been detrimental. Jalen Hurts looks to be in a shootout against Miami, but Hurts will have to play better than a week ago and limit the turnovers. On the other side, Jordan Love is a great matchup against a team that made Justin Fields look like Patrick Mahomes. Lebowski Thor also will need touchdowns from Justice Hill and Kendre Miller to get any points at running back. Javonte Williams and Najee Harris clearly have the advantage for Air Jordan, though both also can be vultured at times. Both tight ends are touchdown dependent, and the defense and kicker advantage looks to actually be on Lebowski Thor's side based on matchups. Kenneth Gainwell and A.J. Dillon could be potential flex plays for Lebowski Thor off his bench, but both of those players look to be touchdown dependent as well. Brandon Ayuk, on the other hand, might be getting more opportunities with injuries to Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. Stephon Diggs is a first-round wide receiver that could be dependable to get at least 100 yards a game with plenty of touchdown opportunities. Josh Reynolds on Lebowski Thor's side has actually garnered several opportunities this year, but they might be diminishing with Amon-Ra St. Brown healthy and Jameson Williams getting targets now. This leaves two players that I'm looking at here for visiting Air Jordan. I'm going to look at wide receiver Cooper Kupp. I know it's crazy to think, a guy that good, why am I even breaking him down? Well, I mean, he did miss 4 weeks this season. He's a first-round wide receiver that actually fell in the draft to Air Jordan because he was on IR for 4 weeks. But after missing those weeks, we see why he might still be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Kupp came back in week 5, caught 8 of 12 targets for 118 yards. He followed that up last week by catching 7 of 9 targets for 148 yards and a touchdown. Kupp is not only getting a lot of targets in an offense that loves the pass, but he is turning those targets into big plays early and often. Puka Nacua also had 71 yards and a score on 7 catches in the first game Kupp returned, but he was limited to 4 catches for 26 yards last week. This shows that even if Nacua gets production, it doesn't hurt Kupp, and Kupp is getting the ball as the priority for the Rams offense. The next opponent for Kupp is Pittsburgh, which has a good defense, especially with T.J. Watt on the pass rush. But they still have allowed 6 touchdowns to wide receivers this season, and they have allowed 204 yards per game to wide receivers, including 13 receptions of 20 yards or more. This means that Kupp should have a few opportunities for some big plays, and that's all he needs to get you those big-time double-digit points. But just getting double-digit points might not be enough here for Air Jordan, especially if Jordan Love is outplayed by Jalen Hurts by a big margin. Kupp might need a long touchdown and some extra bonus points to seal that deal. While very possible if the Steelers' pass rush does limit Matthew Stafford, or if Nacua steals a touchdown or two, it could also be a big blow for Air Jordan in a matchup where points could be coming at a premium. Host Loki Lebowski Thor has a different problem though, and I'm looking at wide receiver Calvin Ridley here. Ridley started the season strong, 101 yards and a score. Scored again in week 4, added 136 yards in week 5, but last week was one of 3 very bad duds so far, which is something low-key Lebowski Thor can ill afford. And to make problems worse, Ridley will have a backup quarterback throwing to him, or Trevor Lawrence in a knee brace. Either way, he could have limited opportunities if Lawrence is not 100%. Still, he was brought in to be the top guy, even with Christian Kirk still getting targets. And he can always explode for 7 or more catches in a game, which could lead to some big numbers. The opponent will also be tough here, though. New Orleans have allowed just 5 touchdowns to wide receivers. They've also allowed 140 yards per game against wide receivers. The good news is that Jacksonville actually brings in the best wide receivers this defense has played all year, so we'll see if the Saints are legit. They also have allowed 14 catches of 20 or more yards. Nothing over 50 yards, though. But it shows that there are some big plays to be had, possibly. If Ridley can break off one of those plays and also reach the end zone, it could be a huge compliment to Jalen Hurts. Again, Loki Lebowski Thor needs those touchdowns, needs those points in this one. But if the Saints limit the passing game and Ridley has another down game, It's tough to see those points getting made up anywhere else on the team this week. While Air Jordan is obviously picked to win by the computers, the low-scoring projections usually mean that there are question marks, so we will see what happens here. Regardless, one of these teams is going to be moving within a game of getting back to 500 unless an unthinkable tie occurs. How chaotic would that be? There are some other big-time games this week with a few potential upset watches. My 2-4 Gashkia Slews need a big win as we host 5-1 Remember the Titans, the team on top of the entire league right now. My Slews have a slim 53.9% chance to win in what is being picked as a low-scoring affair. One big question, can Jared Goff outduel Lamar Jackson? That question kind of sounds weird just saying it. Also, we could see fireworks at running back with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson going up against DeAndre Swift and Donta Foreman, who both have good matchups. My Slews need more touchdowns from the wide receivers and tight end positions, though, with Jalen Waddle and Puka Nacua expected to do well for Remember the Titans. The Browns versus Saints defense could also be big here. The 2-4 Multiple Scoregasms host the 2-4 Siamese Dreamcats at the abandoned villages of Boninac as both teams desperately seek a win, with both squads on a 3-game losing streak. The Scoregasms enter with a 62.5% chance to win, but it really looks like anyone's game. A few monster possibilities and unknowns could really change things here. The Dreamcats get great matchups for a returning A.A. Ron Jones and also Jaleel McLaughlin, though McLaughlin is touchdown dependent at the moment. Romeo Dobbs also has a great matchup, and Drake London and Kyle Pitts came alive in recent weeks and could be a big boost. The Scoregasms need Saquon Barkley and Amon-Ra St. Brown to do well, and Jordan Addison could cancel out any Kirk Cousins TDs. Both teams might have limited quarterback scores with bad matchups, though. This is expected to be pretty low scoring. 4-2 the Stellar Bitches host the 3-3 defending champion Elite Mother Tuckers in a big game at the Purple Skies at Dache. The Elite Mother Tuckers have a 63.3% chance to win as they look to continue to make a climb back into the league race. Justin Herbert is better than Daniel Jones, but Jones has the better matchup. Raheem Mostert has been a beast when he gets the majority of the carries and could be in a shootout here, so Josh Jacobs and Travis Etienne will have to avoid down games. Keenan Allen could also cancel out Herbert TDs, and Devontae Adams will be looking to get back on track with a backup quarterback throwing to him, which actually could be good as Jimmy Garoppolo kind of forgets he has Devontae Adams to even throw to. The Elite Mother Tuckers will really need to cancel those things out. I actually think this one's a lot closer than the computers say. 4-2 Green Acres hosts 3-3 the Clash A Demon Head at the Bogs of Diomirach in another huge game that can shake up the standings. Green Acres has a 72.1% chance to win, but this is due to the Clash at Demon Head not having a defense in the lineup yet. Josh Allen will be looking to get back on track, as will Geno Smith. But the big points could be coming from Tyreek Hill, Dallas Goedert, and the Buffalo defense for Green Acres, and from Christian Watson and Isaiah Pacheco for the Clash at Demon Head. Amari Cooper will also be needed for the Clash at Demon Head, and touchdown-dependent players will definitely need to step up in a big way, with some buys hurting the Clash at Demon Head. Lastly, 4-2 Bandidos del Rio host 3-3 Risky Business in another big-time matchup. The Bandidos have a 69.8% chance to win here, and this is because Risky Business is catching up to low-key Lebowski Thor with huge injury blows. Anthony Richardson is now out for the season, which is rough, as he was doing quite well at quarterback and was a high draft pick, 6th rounder. Christian McCaffrey is undergoing an MRI to see how bad his ribs and oblique are injured. He could also miss a game. Risky Business does have Jordan Mason if McCaffrey can't go, but it's never easy to lose your first-round draft pick. If out, points will need to come from other places. Sam Howell will need to keep pace with Patrick Mahomes. TJ Hawkinson will need to score touchdowns to not let Travis Kelce get a big advantage. Jerome Ford will need to step up to keep pace with Ken Walker. And then there's the defenses. Kansas City has a tough matchup but have been good this year, while Washington has a good matchup but have been bad this year. Something has to give. When you look at the possibilities, we can have 6 4-3 teams and a possible 9 teams separated by just one game. That's how big this week's going to be, and teams may just be looking back at it as either the turning point or the chance that got away from them. Regardless, we should see some fireworks as we close the first half of the season. It's It's going to be a good one. That's the show for the week. Hope you enjoyed it. We will have 2 straight Sundays with a little extra content coming up in the second half of the season. Stay tuned for that. But for now, we will be back on Wednesdays. We get closer to the end game for the Dark Forces and to our chaotic season. Before you go, check out the updated power rankings. Until next time, salut.